Well, we're going to try to scintillate a little bit more because what we did, we promised last week that we were going to start looking at the AEW roster because the conversation has turned over the past several shows to what can they do? Who can they have work with so and so? Who can they possibly elevate? Whatever. So we are going to be examining the roster. And now that we have learned that again, we did this a few years ago, thought maybe they might have smartened up, but the roster is, Brian, what did you say? It was over 150 individuals easily is on what they admit is the active AEW roster.
And again, I'm going based on their website. I'm going based on what's on their site under roster. Because there are some people here that I don't know if...
That might be a clue as to... Although you can't take it as gospel just because it's on their website and they claim these people. But since there's so many of them and both of us have pressing issues, you with trying to regain your voice and me with trying to avoid being blown away in severe weather, we're not going to do all of them in one clip. I think that would be a little bit ridiculous. So one thing that we have talked about is the dearth of talent and talent that can be focused on in the women's division in AEW. The WWE has pretty much won that horse race handily. And that's a surprise with Aubrey Ed on the AEW side. But we thought we would take a look at the women's roster, which is a little bit smaller, and see what treasures lay in a sea of mediocrity there. And we'll start tackling them first, correct?
Well, we could do, obviously the men's roster is gigantic. It may be a two-parter, just that alone. Yeah. The women's roster is here. We also have the broadcasters. I don't think we need to do the referees or the coaches.
From what I've seen, I'd pretty much start from scratch with a scorched earth policy with the referees.
I don't even know who some of these people are. Who's Ariel Levy? He's one of the broadcasters. Ariel Levy.
I've never heard that name or seen anyone described as that name on the television.
No Caprice. I didn't know Caprice wasn't doing Ring of Honor anymore. I mean, Ian Riccaboni's here. I don't know if this is just AEW. It appears to have a lot of Ring of Honor people. So I don't know. Bobby Cruz is here next to Carlos Cabrera.
I think the Ring of Honor folks should be there as well. So,
well, let's go to the champions currently for the women's division. The AEW Women's World Champion is Toni Storm, and the TBS champion is Mercedes Moné.
Well, first of all, let's answer the easy one. No, I would call my credit card company and dispute the charge on Mercedes Moné as quickly as possible. And I just would like to just not see her anymore on television ever again doing anything. And give her a Tony Khan's got an unlimited amount of money, right? He could say, look, here's a vacation for you and your whole team to the Amazonian rainforest. Because the way that she gets stuck in the wilderness just here in this country, we'd never see her again. And what Tony said, because you'd save whatever millions of dollars that Tony was suckered into paying for her, when it's just no. If she was as good as she comes off thinking that she is, that would be great. But no. Toni Storm, gimmick or not, I'd keep her in a heartbeat because people love her. But I believe I would have tried to take advantage of her thespianism, her acting talent, without letting her go full-fledged into just a fucking psychopath that everybody's going along with, and it became just a rib. And some people are going to say, well, that's the point of the thing, but I don't know particularly that her going all this far with it has helped as much as what she's just done in the ring with a few select individuals. But nevertheless, so I'd keep one and I'd boot one.
What are you snapping or clicking over there? What's going on?
I'm sorry, I got my pen because I'm writing down what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're laying down. I'm writing down these names. I'm making my list. I'm checking it twice.
All right, so
Mercedes is gone. Tony is here.
What do you do with that savings? The money.
God damn, you could cure cancer.
All right, well, let's go to the women's roster here. Again, this is according to the official AEW website, AEW or AllEliteWrestling.com. The first one is someone I thought had left the company, so I don't know. The Living Dead girl, Abaddon.
Abaddon would be gone. What the? That's a complete rib anyway, remember? Like it was like a half-baked Pillsbury biscuit with makeup on.
Okay, let's move on here with the list. Anna Jay.
You got to keep Anna Jay because I don't want you to cuss me. But she's a young girl and she's very fetching. She seems to be somewhat athletic. And we're bearing in mind when we make this list that the one thing we don't know is how attitudes are or learning capabilities. But it would be worth putting her in a good, decent, wholesome training program and train her various talents in the right way. So now we're 2-2.
The Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, Athena.
Help me. Oh, wait a minute. She's the one that used to have the big ass that she would sit on people and just be real stiff. But last time we saw her, she lost some weight.
Again, this may not be my recollection of things. Maybe this is the way you remember these things. But Athena, she is the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion.
Well, yeah, whoop-de-ding. I don't know. Let's put her in the middle because we may have to come back to that. I don't know that I would boot her completely, but if it's the one I'm thinking about as reckless as she used to be, I'd boot her in a heartbeat, but she may have got better.
This next one's an interesting one. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
I mean, do we have to pay for the private detective to find her? Or can we just call her up and ask her to come back to work? At one point, I would have said yes when they first started. I said, well, she's attractive. She can work a little bit. She's a professional, a good face for the women's division of the company. But 6 years later, I think a bunch of people have figured out that maybe she wasn't all she was cracked up to be. And I think she needs a rest. I believe I'd let her go. Well, she's resting now because she doesn't show up, but I don't know why she's still getting paid.
Hypothetically, I'm not even saying it's Britt Baker because there's two sides to every story. But if you know someone's a pain in the ass and you know you're paying them well and you know that their position or their stature would kind of necessitate a raise whenever their contract was up to hold on to them, but they do either create problems or get involved in problems or are in the middle of problems with various people at various times, do you almost want to feed that sort of energy to WWE? If you're not worried, it's not going to affect your business. Do you almost want to say, this person's a bit of a pain in the ass in the locker room. Let her go do this over there.
Well, I think the WWE has done a little bit of that on their side. It might be time they get a little taste of their own medicine. And the problem is you can lead the WWE to the horse, but can you make them drink it? Or whatever that old saying is.
All right, well, Jim, next on the list, the virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo, and then I guess she's also part of a faction. It says the Vendetta.
She wasn't bad. What we saw, we haven't seen her in a long time. She wasn't probably going to make a big difference in the fortunes of this business either way, but I can't say that she wouldn't be good to have to work with any top girls you might be able to establish. So let's keep her on for a second.
And again, she may be a case of someone who has been in and out of the show. There was never really anything done on a multi-week level to establish her and get people to care. You do vignettes, but if they just pop up every now and then nothing happens, they don't really mean anything.
Well, but beside on the other way to look at it though is she hasn't been around long enough, like some of the talent, where they've just done so many stupid things. You're like, oh please, I don't want to see any more of this shit. So she's, reasonably fresh.
Next on the list here, Jim, Diamante.
My God, have we seen her in 5 years? She was with LAX, right?
She was with, what was the name of the girl who they fired because she was, who did she stiff on TV? Was it Thunder Rosa? She like just stiffed someone on TV and like made a face like, oh God, rolled her eyes. She had a partner, Evilise.
Evilise, she was evil.
At least.
Yeah, at least. Let's assume that Diamante ain't ever coming back because we haven't seen her in 5 years and she's on the gone list.
All right, the next one here, you have to see this fetching photo one day. Emi Sakura.
Oh, good Lord. Can we get rid of her and then bring her back so we can get rid of her again?
We have not seen Emi Sakura in a while. Emi Sakura was a semi-regular presence in the early days. If she's still on the roster, or on their roster page, do you think that means she's still under contract? She's still getting paid? Is that all this is just everyone under contract?
Your guess is as good as mine, but if they're blatantly featuring someone on their website as part of their roster that we haven't seen in years, you would think they're still affiliated and still getting paid.
Jim, next on the list here, the AEW women's roster, Harley Cameron.
Yeah, again, people seem to like her. As you mentioned, she's very talented, just not in wrestling. But I'm going to keep her because it doesn't mean she has to be a wrestler. There's something to be done with somebody that has talent, even if she was one of the announcers instead of the miscellaneous people they find to stand there, just hold a microphone. Renee Moxley Good adds nothing to the thing. Miss Atoot, Harley Cameron could do something a little different, or a manager, or a valet, or a female assistant of some kind.
I wish I had a time machine and I could manage her in vaudeville. I feel like I'd make a fortune.
There you go. And have a little monkey dressed up in a suit on a leash next to you. Perfect.
Well, Jim, next here on the list, Hikaru Shida.
Again, they have poisoned the opportunity for any female Japanese wrestler to really shine in this company because of all of the ridiculous, unfit, untalented, indie level silliness that they have presented, that if you lined everybody up on the stage in a police lineup, they wouldn't be able to tell Emi Sakura from Hikaru Shida from fucking et cetera, because everybody dresses and acts the same fucking way.
I take that as you will not be bringing her onto your list.
I will not be bringing her onto the list.
I used to think that, her specifically, because I don't think you could frame them all one way, but I think you specifically were unfair to her, and I put over her work, and then I started watching her. Her work's awful. She's the most overrated. I have to say it. She's the most overrated. I think people like her just because they know Kenny likes her. So it's like, she must be good. Because Kenny wouldn't be friends with someone who couldn't work a great match. But she's
Riho.
She stinks. Riho's better than her. Riho is better than Hikaru Shida. Let's continue on this list here, Jim. Jamie Hayter. That 70s girl.
Oh, my God. Again, I saw the other night. It's off-putting. It looks like fucking Richie Cunningham in drag trying to beat somebody up. If there's a talent, let's write her down. There's a talent underneath there, but I'd fucking I'd turn a bucket of black paint over her head and I'd stick her in something that showed whether she had curves or just lumps or something stuck in her pocket.
All right, Jim, next on the list, from the Hounds of Hell, Julia Hart.
Julia Hart, again, she may not be a great wrestler, but she's got a great look. And, I'm writing down these keepers, but then I'm writing them down to be something else besides wrestlers. We got to be careful we don't have too many of those. Well, let's keep Julia right now.
All right. Do you keep the next one here on the list, Jim? Camille.
Well, the question is, did they keep Camille? Where be Camille? Of course, I'd want Camille if I'm opening up a women's division from scratch, so we'll keep her. So far, she and Toni Storm would be fighting over the title.
What if there's a whole community of these wrestlers on top of the mountain that Darby's climbing that are just, they've been booked off the show? Like Wardlow's
that's where Tony has sent them.
Yeah.
So that it's like a really souped up NDA deal where if you want to stay under contract, but you can't talk, so we're going to put you on top of Mount Everest. And then Darby comes and he discovers a vault door at the top and he opens it and all the fucking trapped wrestlers spill out.
Darby's going to, what a babyface. He's climbing Mount Everest to save with his skateboard to save all the wrestlers that have been booked into oblivion.
And then it'll look like the entire Marvel universe has been released, and there'll be Darby like the Silver Surfer on the front of it with his skateboard, bringing them all down the mountain.
All right, Jim, next on the list, I don't know where on the mountain she would be, Karen Jarrett.
What? Well, no, you can't. I'm not even putting Karen in this discussion because she's not a wrestler or going to wrestle. But when we get to Jeff, I would have Jeff with Karen if I was going to have Jeff, but not on this list.
What about Kiera Hogan?
If she's not going to bring Brooke and Nick, she can't come. She's off the list.
And I don't remember the last time we saw her on this show, so I don't even know what she's doing. She was one of the baddies, remember, with Jade Cargill?
Ah, that's right. Well, Jade left and took her baddies and went home.
That's still one of the most remarkable entrances ever. Jade would come out there and do her pose, and then on either side of her, she would have her baddies, whose move was to turn away from the camera and bend over so it was just their ass in the air and then shake their ass. That's still one of the most remarkable entrances I've ever seen. But I guess Kiera Hogan can't make it on your list. What about Chris Statlander?
We got to keep poor Statlander. We got to keep her because one of these days, if she lives long enough, she might be a star.
What about Layla Gray? Who in this photo is wearing some bizarre, it's not a military uniform, but it's kind of, because the colors aren't military, but it's like an old school 1940s military. She's saluting something. I don't know what the fuck.
Well, I don't know. Let's let Layla Gray go for a couple years to join the Peace Corps. It'll make a man out of.
Oh, see, I think she's the one who could probably be a good valet, but who knows? Madison Rayne. Madison Rayne here on the list.
Yeah, they hired her to be a coach. She has not wrestled there, or at least we haven't seen her on television. And I can't evaluate her coaching because I know people there that in the past have known what the fuck they're doing, but you still see these matches. So I'm assuming and have been somewhat told that just nobody listens. So I don't know what she's telling them, but I'm not going to put her on this list of active wrestlers, so she might have to go.
Well, speaking of people that aren't active wrestlers, although they are under contract, we believe still, Mariah May.
Yeah. Because Tony's miffed because she wants to go to the big show, as they say, and I'm not talking about Paul White. So he's just put her on ice, but we would keep her. Again, providing that any and all of these people can be produced and have a good attitude and want to pull the same rope, as they say, we got to keep Maria.
What about the problem, Marina Shafir from the Death Riders?
Let's let her ride off into the sunset. Because, I mean, she has a striking look, but unless the guys are going to be allowed to get even, I'm sorry, but she don't need to be beating up any guys. And I don't recall her work being that stellar. So, and she's had the stench of grisly death on her because of being involved in this whole Boar Horseman thing. So let's let Marina go to Marina Del Rey.
All right, I guess goodbye, Marina. What about Megan Bain?
We got to keep Megan Bain until we can figure out what's wrong with her that she's not somewhere else becoming a star.
She's got the look.
I'm going for stupid.
She's got the look. Let's not start guessing what her problem is, but she definitely has the look of a star. You got to say.
There's evidence. She apparently is dating Jelly Nutella.
Oh, that's always like a good road up on the indies.
So, yeah, see, that's how this little Weasley con man, part-time fucking meth addict looking guy gets these girls because he makes them think, I can get you booked on the spring break and I can enhance your career or whatever. Because he's a good con man. He's just a rotten wrestler. But I think that's what it is. She's got to be really fucking stupid to fall for that. And that's the only, because she doesn't have a visible flaw. So we'll see what happens. Let's keep her.
We're going to keep her. All right. Mercedes Martinez.
If she indeed hasn't died of old age since the last time we saw her.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, what the fuck? How long has it been?
She's died of old age.
She's been on TV in 5 years. I think, let's go for, she's a good worker I remember her being a good worker, but let's try to go more for the modern era.
Jim, what about from the patriarchy, Mother Wayne?
Well, again, she's not a wrestler. I've never met this lady. I'm not trying to say anything bad about her. And her poor husband passed away. The only bad thing she's done is have that fucking moop-faced kid. But she's not, without Nick Plain's mom becomes unnecessary, and you wouldn't have Nick Plain. So I think Mom Wayne, because you know what they say. When you send the Wayne to Spain, he's awful plain. So put him on a train.
Well, we're not talking about him. We're talking about her.
Well, they're both going. We just ain't got to him yet.
All right. What about Nyla Rose?
Again, when's the last time you saw?
Yeah, where's Nyla Rose been? We haven't seen her in forever.
You could do something with Nyla Rose with the size alone. She's been gone long enough that they don't remember that she was beaten by many people half her size. So I would attempt to rehabilitate Nyla Rose if possible.
And again, she had Vicky Guerrero as a manager, and
that didn't help anything.
I don't know if that helped anything, and she lost to Riho a few times, but that was a long time ago. What about the super bad girl, Penelope Ford?
Good old Penelope Pitstop. She's another one of the Janela cast-offs, right? She's got dried jelly on her. No, there's no facials. She's an athletic cheerleader that is doing wrestling moves by rote. She's not pretty enough to hang in the WWE with the major leagues, but she's pretty enough for the indies, but she's adopted an indie style where she goes from move to move. Like, this is what we do next. This is what we do next. And nah, I think we've seen the best we're going to see.
I think that would be the big thing. I don't know how much improvement there's been in her work in 5 years of being on national TV. In fact, it may have gone into retrograde. I don't know. Jim, what about Queen Amanata?
I remember she's painfully thin.
No, she's not.
She strikes me as I remember her being tall and thin.
Somewhat tall, I think would be fair.
Well,
and she's a queen.
That mean possibly she's also somewhat thin. I don't know. I don't want to badmouth anyone because I can't remember ever watching her fucking work. So let's put her in the middle.
Okay. Here's a name we haven't heard in a while. Rebel.
Good Lord, I think she retired from the business. She was doing the thing with Britt Baker, but she used to work in TNA. Before that, she was in, I think, a dancer in the music business, whatever. I believe I liked her, old Reba, as the sidekick of Britt Baker, but I think we got to put her on the no list because I think she's already gone anyway.
See, that was Britt Baker's best stuff when she had Reba and she had Jamie Hayter. Like, it all worked.
Yeah.
And then there was no payoff because they never had a big blow up between Britt and Hayter. So.
No payoff should be the title of the book on AEW.
Now, there's a fluffy book apparently coming out that'll be filled with lots of fluff about the fluffy, wonderful time that everyone's had over there. We'll see.
Are you trying to say that a lot of these girls are fluffers?
I'm not saying that about that. That's not in any way what I said. Let's move forward with this list. Jim, the Ring of Honor Women's World TV Champion, Red Velvet.
Again, I remember painfully thin, very small. We haven't seen her on regular television in ages. She used to do the standing moonsault where she would miss people every time with it, didn't she?
She may have done that for a good while, yeah.
I put her in the middle.
Jim, what about Riho?
Riho, gotta go to Soho. Yeah, Riho's gone. She is gone so fast that she will meet herself coming in.
I'd keep her. She'd be on my list. Jim, what about Ruby Soho?
Ruby So-So. We haven't seen her in a long time. What happened to her?
She got pregnant.
Goodbye, Ruby So-So. You didn't take your pill on time.
Oh, stop. Will you stop it?
Now you're growing a fetus inside you, and it's all on my dime.
I believe she may have had the child already. I think I heard that.
Well, then bring them both back to work.
Jim, let's move forward with this list.
Oh, hold on. Where am I putting her?
It sounds like you want to keep her and the kid. I don't know what the hell's going on over there.
Let's keep her for a while. See what happens. If she's refound her dedication, not gonna go off willy-nilly and get impregnated again.
It was part of that big angle with her and Cool Hand Luke. Remember Saraya turned down the
apparently
angle?
used more than his hand or we wouldn't be in this situation.
Well, she's on this list even though she's not there anymore, I don't believe. Saraya from the Outcasts.
Didn't she just say she quit wrestling?
Is it just a thing where her contract actually hasn't run out? Or did they just not take her off their website?
I don't know, but I'm taking her off my list because she got a rubber band neck and I think the time has passed.
The woman of 1,000 holds, Serena Deeb.
Serena is a very good worker. She spent a lot of time. She trained with Rip Rogers, trained in OVW with a lot of the trainers we had. She's been around the business for a while. The way that they presented her was so disinteresting. But if you're going to have a division of women, if she's not on the roster, she'd be the trainer to me. At least for in-ring work, not promos or, goddamn, hey, Serena, give them a lesson in Chicago wrestling history. That might not be it, but training women how to actually in-ring wrestle, I would think they could do worse.
What about Sky Blue?
Boy, is she the one whose ass you like?
First of all, I don't think I've ever said that or like that on the show. And there are
that way.
But there are other women. I mean, it's not like she would be unique, and I'm not even saying it would be her, but
you've beaten around the girl's bush about it.
Okay, you've turned this AEW women's roster review into something out of fucking.
Hey, that's because, like Francis from Fort Jonathan, Ontario said, I'm sexiest.
All right. Well, that doesn't mean you have to make this Screw magazine, I guess is my point.
Well, I'm sorry, Brian Goldstein.
Well, let's, where were we?
Is there another name?
Are you keeping Sky Blue? You didn't say that. All you did was make some accusation about me.
I forgot.
Pervert.
I can't remember. She's an attractive little thing. Let's put her on the list to see what happens.
Just returned, I believe, to wrestling. Here's another one we haven't seen in a while, but I guess Based on when she would have had her child, if she was going to return, it may happen. Ty Mello.
Oh, I remember Ty Mello Conti.
Yeah, she's the one you used to talk about how you liked her ass, right?
No, I don't think she had that good of an ass.
Okay, you're remembering. Maybe you're thinking of the wrong person then. I'll stick up for her here.
Oh, well, I'm trying to remember. No, maybe that was all right, other kind of.
Yeah, see,
I'm trying to think of who.
You've dragged me down to your level. Why don't we? All
I remember is we used to make jokes about Ty Mello's name. Well, she was married to somebody, and then she broke up with him, and she had another name, and then she came back, and she was with and had another.
Was it Ty Conti?
Ty Conti, yes.
Sounds like a Ford dealership.
All right, we don't care anyway. She's not on the list. Go ahead.
Tri-County Ty Conti Ford has the brand new.
See, Ty Conti at Tri-County.
Jim, also on the list, also from the Vendetta, Taya Valkyrie.
Again, I was a fan of hers because she has size. She had a look. Seemed like that when I saw her on some indie shows, she could work. But then when we saw her in this atmosphere for a little while, it was like, but she was also in with some people that were, but then we saw her several months ago. She had somewhere or another, her hair turned some kind of mellow yellow, greenish yellow type of thing. Maybe she was showering with Ty Mello. But is she still even there? I don't know. She might have, I don't know. Let's put her in the middle.
All right. Taya in the middle. Only a few more names here, Jim. Thunder Rosa.
Thunder Rosa, same thing as Serena Deeb. She's been around a while. She can work. But the way she was presented, blah. And then she had issues, or the other girls had issues with her, or she had issues with them. Thunder Rosa, again, it can have a good match, but can she draw you any money? Probably not. But then again, most of the people on this list can't either. She and Serena ought to be the coaches. We'll put her down. We'll keep her for right now.
Willow Nightingale.
Willow, let's keep her. She's got a bouncy fucking personality that the people like her smiling. She's been booked like shit too, but we're just talking about, we're looking at these women like purely like pieces of meat.
No, we're not.
Yeah, yes, we are. We're not looking at them like they've been ruined by bad booking, or they've got bad attitudes, or they're related or married to people that have bad attitudes. We're just looking at them purely like pieces of meat that if we were promoters and bookers having a women's division, would we want them on our roster or not? That's the fairest, most unmisogynistic way to look at it. Look at them like they're just strictly pieces of meat.
Is that the way we look at the men's roster too?
Just like they're purely pieces of meat. Tube steaks smothered in underwear.
All right, we have one more name here on the list, Jim. Just like the spots we do. You save it for the end and then you just go over the top. The magical girl, Yuka Sakazaki.
Oh, every time I see her, she makes me Yuka. Let's get rid of her as quick as we can. Well, okay, so
that is the women's roster of AEW.
Well, hold on here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 13, 33, 34, 35, 36. That's 38 women. 38. But when you go down the list of people we hardly ever see, hold on, let me check those off. Okay. Unfortunately, we see too much of her. And counting Soraya, who said she's gone. We don't really see Rosa a lot anymore. We don't see Serena a lot anymore. Ruby's out there popping out to kids. Now Rosa's gone. So out of that, what did I say, 38, 2, 3, 4, And also Red Velvet, where's she been? 5,
Ring of Honor.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Out of the 38, 19 people we haven't seen in months or years. And out of the 38, I kept 16 with 4 more in the middle. And that was on first blush. If I had to pare it down to actually meet a budget, and or considering that some of these girls would be projects, if you had a training program, you could get rid of another half a dozen of them. So you'd come up with, if you count the ones in the middle, we got 20, you'd come up with 10, 12, 14 that you could try to do something with as the basis of things. So I'll keep this paper and we'll come back and revisit that.
All right. Well, there it is. What are you ripping?
I ripped it off the pad so I can keep it in a file.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the AEW.
Now you want to hear something else? There we go.
What are you ripping now? What are you doing now?
That's the notes for today's program because we're done with it.
Why rip them? There's so much you could do positively with that.
What, am I going to put them in a landfill to help aid the environment?
For the library, for the Hall of Fame.
Well, in that case, I'll rewrite my notes and have somebody type them up.
All right. Well, that was the AEW women's roster as of this moment, according to their website. So we'll return next time with the men's roster.
Yes, and or anything else that managers and announcers and all that other type of thing, the ancillary people as well. This may take a while to muddle through this list, but we're gonna figure out 50 people or so that Tony Khan could keep and actually try to draw some money with once he got a new booker.